thank you all for coming to this panel discussion. We're very happy to welcome those fabulous people with their great projects. And we're here to talk about the metaverse. So we're going to go through some questions and asking where we're going, where we are, what is that weird thing called metaverse, and many of them have different point of view on that. So I'm just going to introduce them, but really shortly, and we're going to go into details and questions during the next hours and a few minutes. So first is Elisa Napolitano. She's from the Museo Archeologico Nazionale di Napoli, but like with the English accent, say in Italian. And they've developed a project called Father and Son, and Elisa is going to talk about that project and other things that the museum is doing. Jérôme is sitting next to her. So Jérôme is the CEO, founder of Dream Cities, a new project in the metaverse. Emanuelia is the Deputy Director, General Manager of Matrice, which is a French structure, and they developed a new project in the metaverse. And we are very happy to have on board Ifeadi Odenigbo, who's from both Black Santa Ethereum and a co-founder of the African Museum of the Metaverse, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about that project too. So first, thanks a lot for all of you for coming to Paris to discuss on that topic. Just to start, because metaverse is at the same time an old word and a new word. For me, with a boomer point of view, the metaverse is that thing, and that's Second Life, and it's been on for years. So I was just wondering, why do everybody has some focusing on the metaverse? It's been on for decades. And my first question was, okay, but what is exactly the metaverse? So I did first what a boomer would do, that is to say open a dictionary, but I couldn't find the word, of course. Then I did what everyone is doing since the last couple of weeks or days, ask ChatGPT. So that's his answer or her answer. So I'm just going to share it with you. The term metaverse refers to a virtual shared space that is created by the convergence of virtual and augmented reality technologies. It is essentially a fully immersive digital world where people can interact with each other and digital objects in a way that mimics real life. The concept of metaverse has been around for several decades, popularized by science fiction, books, and movies. However, recent advancements in technology have made it possible to create more sophisticated and realistic virtual environment that would eventually form the basis for a true metaverse. So now we have a fake and a true metaverse. So I'm just a little bit more confused. So I'm just going to turn back to my panelists to say, okay, so what is metaverse for you, and what does that word stand for or mean? Maybe Elisa, you want to start, or Jérôme, whoever on the side wants to start.
Okay, so thank you for this invitation. Okay, for the translation. So, okay, I can just explain, if you want, a little bit our project, which is, like a jump in the digital and then jump back in the analogic experience. So we didn't choose a specific metaverse project, but something on the digital, on a virtual experience, because our game, as I will explain you, is based on an emotional storytelling. So it's something created to connect and create a bond between the visitors and the non-visitors, because we have a specific objective to improve the audience development. So we were looking for new publics, non-publics. So if I can, okay, thank you. So this project was in a general strategic plan for digital plan, and in general all of the strategic objectives of the museum for this 4 years and the last 4 years. So just to introduce my museum, because it's an archaeological museum. I don't know if all of you know them. So it's a really important museum all over Europe for the antiquities, for the Roman antiquities. At first, we have this great collection from the Renaissance, but of Roman antiquities from Farnese collection, okay? And these are some of the highlights. The museum was born especially thanks to the excavations of Pompeii and Herculaneum. I think all of you know them. And we have a great collection about mosaics, frescoes, bronzes, vases, and so on. This collection was increased in time with new excavations in Campania and south of Italy, and the acquisition of private collections. So we have also, for example, an Egyptian collection, the second in Italy after the museum in Turin, the Egyptian museum. So father and son is this. This is the main image of the game. Was produced by the museum. So it's the first video game produced by an archaeological museum and developed by Tuo Museo, which is, like a cooperative of game designers and storytellers and so on. Very innovative. So we choose to make a video game with some main objectives. So disseminate and improving the image of the museum all over the world. So we have this we're interested in making the museum known all over the world, okay? And so in the game, for example, you can see the museum. This is the main face of the museum. Those are some of the internal, and 3 kilometers of the city of Naples, okay? You can see there. So the other objective was the creation of an emotional bond with the visitor. That's why the video game is based on a story of a guy, and his name is Michael. His father was an archaeologist. He abandoned his family just for his job, and now he's going back in Naples to discover some more about the father. Okay, so it's a personal story. The other objective was the improvement of the museum visibility, reputation, and attractiveness. Also, in terms of audience development, so have much more public and different publics. That's why, for example, you can unlock some extra contents of the game only if you come and visit the museum, okay? And so you can complete the entire story. Was translated in several languages, 10 languages, from different countries, from in French, in Spanish, and Chinese, and Russian, and also in Neapolitan, which is our dialect, because we try to go to the global dimension, to the local dimension back. Okay, it was the last translation. And the new one, because we launched a second edition of this Father and Son at the moment in 5 languages. It's a simple game. It's a 2D graphic, but we like this project so much because so it starts from an handmade watercolor paintings, then modified and animated with digital technology. An original soundtrack, very emotional. Okay, there are some really easy icons to action. There's the possibility. That's why the storytelling is so is so emotional. We try to engage the people, because you can always choose two different ways of the story, okay, two different approach. Just you can try to you are Michael, you can choose if you want to give a chance to this father or not, okay, so you can change the story as you want, playing. And then, of course, there are some little ID cards of the highlights. So this is the occasion also to disseminate some little contents of the museum. You can collect sketches, so you can make little sketches of the things you can see in the museum or in the city. And I think the best part is the possibility to jump in the past. So there's a little icon, this clock. Okay, you can choose when you are in front of some of the highlights of the collection. Here, for example, in the Egyptian collection, you can jump back in the Egyptian, in the ancient Egypt, and have a little experience there. You can, as you can see here, or in a city or in a house. Or go back, for example, to the Bourbon period, throughout the highlights of the Farnese collection, because this is the historical date of the birth of the museum. So this is the first foundation of the museum. Or be back in Pompeii the day of the eruption. Here, the slide door chooses really important also to be alive at the end of the game, because you can choose if save yourself or someone else. So this way you can discover a little bit the story. And with Father and Son, in the second episode, we try to propose some jump back in other places or times. For example, also Herculaneum, knowing who made the first excavations of the city, of the ancient city, or in the Roman Egypt, so the Egypt during the Roman times, because we have a specific section about the influence of Roman culture, of Egyptian cultures in the Roman Empire, or in the pre-Roman age. And this is one of the jump back in the past I prefer, during the Second World War, where the museum, as you can see in the original images there from our historical archive, was under the bombs. And they needed to protect the artifacts, or so we send or trying to move from the museum the highlights. So this way you can have some suggestion about the story, the ancient story, the modern story, and also the contemporary story about the museum throughout the Michael's story.
In-house. So in your project, actually, the metaverse sounds like altogether video games, but also a story, a travel to time, basically. Like if the museum was recreated in another world where we can just come back through times. Jérôme, on your project, it's a different way of saying the metaverse. We're just going to different cities. So how would you define your metaverse?
Yes, I don't know if you hear me. Yes? Okay. Well, to talk about the word that I don't like, because I don't like this word metaverse, I just want to rewind a little bit. Yeah, it's an old word, but it mainly comes from science fiction so far, from a novel. And so it looks like everybody needed to be reattached to this word, and suddenly we needed to justify that we were doing a metaverse. So concretely speaking, I would like to more say that it will depend about what we're going to do about it. It's a kind of a suitcase word. We can put anything we want into this, and I believe that we are only at the beginning of all of this. We are living what I call the aesthetic singularity, which is that the tools can produce now an imitation of reality and so on. So we don't really rely to metaverse. What we like to say is just that we are living concretely a very rich, immersive experience with these tools and the VR headset, to not talk about it. And it's only the beginning, and we're gonna see what we're gonna do with it. And I don't share the point of view of the Meta company. I don't believe we're gonna spend our complete lives into a kind of escaping attitude. I don't believe in the escaping movement, but I more believe into as an entertainment, and we're gonna spend maybe 1 hour into a place which is far away from us. We're gonna have a more intimacy relationship with the art production, with the cultural heritage, with anything accessible. So metaverse, non-metaverse, I don't know. Since it's a meta experience and it brings where we were not going before, yes. But if it's just to capitalize on the word, I'm a little bit suspicious about that.
It's just like a different universe, different.
Yeah, it's a plus. It's a new world. It's a new dimension. Of course, it is. I hope we're gonna exchange about that more deeper. But I'm more excited in the new dimension that it gives than in the new vocabulary. I'm not really a fan about the vocabulary itself.
Okay, the vocabulary doesn't bring many meanings for you to the experience you're developing.
No, it's the experience prime. It's the feeling of the people. It's the little drop of water in the eyes of the people when they take the headset out. And we have a philosophy with Dream City to explain in one sentence what we do. It's very simple. We just propose to visit emblematic areas of cities that you cannot go. It could be Venice, could be Montmartre, could be. We have a MVP about Shanghai because the project born in Shanghai. I was traveling a lot before I become a father, and I was on my scooter, and I thought how to bring this back in my suitcase. I love Shanghai. What can I do? How can I show it? And so we decided to develop a kind of our own technology, which was very complicated 2 years ago. Because as far as we know, for the metaverse or immersive experience, you depend about what we call the real time. It's a machine, you want it or not, who's re-interpreting reality. So you need to challenge this. So we developed a solution which was capable to restitute the historical monuments or the cultural heritage with a very high definition, but with life behind. I don't know if you can press play or...
Can we start the video from the desk, please?
So we succeed on this, and then we thought it could be possible to really restitute the quality of an experience, just like if you travel somewhere. If you travel somewhere, you have access to cultural heritage, but you also have access to life, to people. They talk to you. When you lost, you can ask to someone, where am I right now? What is the best restaurant to have the best dumpling ever, and so on. So for us, it was more a package, an experience as a human being that we try to make as much as organic as we can. And I hope we succeed on this. We are a brand new company, but we succeed on this. And we are interested to propose universe, but with this quality, with this organic quality. That's our goal.
So that's basically creating a new traveling experience and basically discovering places that we cannot go.
Exactly.
Elisa mentioned, I just put the words you said, like it's an emotional storytelling. So you go, all of you, back to emotions and discoveries in a way, but in different interpretation and meaning. I mean, technically, it's different usage and different functions, but the mission is quite similar in that.
The technique is bullshit if you don't try to create something that talks to our soul, our heart. One of the tagline we use is that the soul of the city, we like to deliver the soul of the city. Each city has got its own identity, aesthetic, cultural. It's more of the time the symbol of the culture of the whole country. It's where everything is centralized. So we try to deliver this, even if it's not easy. And to talk about, I don't like to call it gaming, but interactivity. We are on the last brick right now. We try to integrate human beings. but not in CGI. We want to shoot real people from each city.
From the real city, like real inhabitants from the cities.
People that we will integrate in stereoscopy and that will come to talk to you. You're going to be able to talk to them. But I insist not CGI because most of the time when you have a VR experience, I can interrogate all of you. You will say, it looks like a video game. And we don't want this. So that's why I was talking about the aesthetic singularity. We have the tools. They're powerful enough to deliver a photorealistic experience. So now it needs to democratize them, make them more accessible, maybe with the cloud, because I cannot ask you to download a complete city. It's make no sense. So that's what we work on, to be able to, if we can, deliver the soul of the city. That's what we try to do.
Okay, perfect. So we have some images going around. The light is not that good, but can show you.
Yeah, sorry, the tests we have are by night, so it's a little bit dark, and VP is not that powerful.
But this is like 3 times images that you can see now from the project. I'm just going to go for you, Emmanuel, because the name also is the Matrix. So it's as if we're going in a parallel universe. Do you yourself also going into the metaverse as if it was a place where you can play, where you can jump on emotional feelings, recreate new venues, or did you go in another directions on your project?
Well, first of all, I quite agree with my comrades here on the stage, but I think I don't think every tools are already in place to allow as much creation as we want to have. So Matrice is actually an institute for innovation in both technological and social innovation. So we don't regard the technology as a one-way street, but rather as a possibility to invent new form of social life, social interaction, and a new way to make society. So we started Layers, which is our project, Web3 and Metaverse project. A few months ago, what we tried to do with Layers is actually to allow more people to create a new experience, because Layers is a responsible finance project that aims to create and enhance digital twins of every most precious element you can find in the natural and human world. So we are starting with the monuments, our heritage, which are the monuments, and we are trying to opening up funding and decentralized governance platform. So you can create digital twins for the museum, for the institution, which we have plenty in France, but also in Italy, of course. And we want to try and propose these twins as assets, 3D elements, environment, texture, adapted to every process you can have to produce new creation. So it's supposed to find its way to Unreal Engine platform, to every XR platform you can find, to help bring those visions to reality. We are not creating experience as such. We are trying to put the tools and the assets you need to be able to do that. And what is very important for us is that today the cost of digitization of monuments is I don't know, tens of thousands of euros, and we want to create new technologies that help you with AI. The scientific term is neural fields. You can rebuild 3D models just by aggregating data, such as photo you can find on Google, and you can obtain a 3D model without going in the place with a 3D scanner or and the cost that goes along with it. So what we do is create a thematic platform for crowd equity raising and decentralized platform of digital twins. So our model is that the museum doesn't, or the monument doesn't have to pay anything. It's crowd funded. And then the museum gets a percentage of the license we are going to sell to the creative industry. So video games, cinema. There is a new technology used in new films like and series like Mandalorian, which is called virtual studio or stagecraft. And this is really one of our main objectives, is to get those assets as cheap as possible for as many people as possible to create the most experience possible. So we are trying to create the largest library of real stuff in the real life you can find for virtual environments. So it's métaverse, of course, if you speak of a virtual environment, but also any XR experience you can propose. I was talking a few weeks ago with Kim Pham, the general manager of this institution, and he was telling me it would be wonderful if when you go through the Louvre, you can relive experiences that happened centuries ago. So this is exactly what he did, and he is trying to think about how to make that happen, but in XR experience, because for him and for us also, everything we do is a way to connect with the real life. So you don't want to escape the real life, you want to connect with it. Sometimes you can't go and visit the place, but what we are trying to do is to give anybody the means to experience it, create a special bond with a monument. I don't know, not even obviously the main monuments like Notre Dame, le Panthéon, etc., but also smaller monuments that don't bring so much crowd, so that you can get a special link and want to get there one day and live it in the real life.
Actually, what's inside the project at Napoli is like you have to come back to the museum to see the whole space. But one of the words you use most in what you were saying is giving. There's a notion of empowerment, I think, in your project, the way you describe it, and giving the way also to creators and people to just take the lead on creating new models and defining that space. Ifeadi, I'm turning to you now, because maybe the way you used or you created the metaverse for the African Museum and the metaverse is different. And maybe in your view, how is it changing the game? Maybe you chose to create something that is really different with the other co-founders. So maybe tell us a bit about that project too.
So what's awesome about the metaverse is there's really many different avenues you can take. So like in the 90s when the internet started, you know, what the internet is today, we would never have thought what it is. So we're kind of in the early stages of the metaverse. So for us, the idea kind of came behind with COVID, you know. Mm-hmm. During COVID, we were in lockdown. As we're starting to realize as human beings, we're social creatures, you know, and being in these lockdowns kind of made it hard for us just from a mental standpoint. So we kind of looked at it as the metaverse as a kind of a safe haven, you know. So in a way, even though you can't be next to the person, but you can still communicate in a way. So how we went about doing this was the purpose of the African Museum of the Metaverse was kind of to bring representation for Black and Africans, just from the standpoint of I myself am I currently play in the National Football League in the United States. My co-founder is Michael Bennett, who's back there. Go ahead, Mike.
Raise your hand, Mike.
So Mike's another co-founder. He's a former professional athlete as himself, and he's currently in law school. And our person right now, our other guy, Meme Onwudiwe, he graduated from Harvard Law, and he can't be with us right now because he's got his own startup. So we all, like, the good story behind us is that we all went to high school together, so we know we've grown up together. So at the time we had owned real estate in the metaverse, And the name of the real estate was Africa. So we went back and typed Africa when we were looking up our real estate in the metaverse, and we realized that there was no affiliations to the word Africa, you know? So then it kind of like really occurred to us that like, hey, we're a people of power, that we could really do something and, you know, really help out fellow minorities as ourselves. So we kind of started thinking, I was like, hey, what are ways that we can get ahead of this metaverse and kind of stamp our mark. So from brainstorming, we believe that art was the best way to go about it, you know? Like art's just a way of expressing yourself and thinking about what's lovely about art. Art has a story to itself, you know? So that's kind of how we went about it. So we decided to create the African Museum of the Metaverse, and here are some pictures right here.
You're seeing some of the images from the metaverse.
So what's great about it is just the fact that like we have a truly healthy ecosystem just from Africans from all across the Black and African artists just from all throughout the world, and we kind of people come here and kind of collaborate, and people have donated their arts. We have thousands and tens of thousands of NFTs that are there.
So it's not linked to a museum or a real city. It's really like the place that you own. And as you were mentioning when we were discussing before the panel today, you were saying this is this time we can own our land, and it's important for us to be on the first time on the metaverse and take the space and actually have a political message beyond that, like saying this belongs to us.
Yeah, so because you know, like I said, we're still in the early stages of it. So like, what's just great about the metaverse is the fact that like history can you know, like when you put an NFT out there. So when the NFT is minted, you can see who was created by, when it was created by, and how many pieces of art there. So from a standpoint, it can't be erased or taken. So that was the idea of it, as from a standpoint of. I myself am Nigerian descent, and just like through growing up in a Nigerian household, my parents' storytelling is very big, you know. But the problem with storytelling, a lot of times, you know, as the stories get passed down, it kind of gets lost in translation. So from the idea, we were like, let's take the next step and let's get something fermented in the metaverse. So even long after I'm gone, there's still history behind this.
And actually building history in the metaverse
Exactly,
for you,
yeah.
in your point of view.
So that's kind of the objection that we're going towards, just for Black and African artists to reunite
and to exist as a community in the metaverse.
Exactly.
That's something that you won't be able to do in the real world we're living.
Yeah, exactly. Just from a standpoint of really the key thing is just accessibility. You know, obviously, like it would be awesome for. Like I'm coming from New York. I got a flight here, coming to New York. So this will be my first time to go to the Louvre and see the Mona Lisa, you know, but not everybody has that opportunity. So it's kind of creating an environment of accessibility where like from where you're home at on your computer or on your phones, you can access these different types of art.
And just because we don't have all the images, at the difference. So Jérôme is focusing on the cities and this new game and so on. For Elisa, is really the materials of the museum, but going back to history. Inside the museum, you have creators, I mean, digital artists, that's native digital arts, but also other works of art. There are images of more ancient works of art, or is it a mix?
So like, because still the metaverse is still kind of relatively new. So as like, you know, as years progress, but so we have art that dates back from NFTs from 8, 9, 10 years ago that we didn't really think was a thing. So as time progresses, this is just going to manifest and cultivate into something special. So we're right now, this is the infancy stages. So like we're planting a seed right now. And as time progresses, you know, because at the end of the day, I myself am still training every single day to still focus on my job as a professional athlete. Mike's still doing his things in law school, and May still just being a beast. So right now we're in the early stages of it. And this was kind of how we went about doing this.
Okay, so that's the style project. Just going back to how is it turning and how is it working? Because maybe Jérôme and Formatrice, the project is just starting, but you can just jump up if you think it's useful in the conversation. Elisa, it's been on for months, so maybe there's a first learning points that you have. You said there was the second version, so maybe you decided to test it. There's a learning curve on it. How how do you make maybe a first? I won't say it's the end of what you started, but the first key elements, key results that you have on the project you developed. Can you share with us those elements and how you build on it?
So yes, we decided to make a second episode because we have seen that the first one had a good goal for us. So we had a good goal with this video game. More than 4,000 downloads. 4 million, sorry. And from very different countries, so 97 countries.
Yeah, and the 38% of China was
Yes.
like astonishing for me.
Yes, this was part of the strategy. So the translation in Chinese was part of the strategies. We were not sure to be so to have
To reach them.
Yes, to reach them. But it was a goal, yes, really, really interesting. And also male or female, it's more or less the same. So there are no big differences between male and female users. Probably the only thing we learned about the video game was about the age of players. So they are a little bit older than the initial target. So they are over 35, mostly over 35. And so thanks to these results, especially about the good rating in general on the App and Store and Google Play. So it was a good result. And then the people localized thanks to the geolocalization in the museum. So this is the feedback about people who like the game, were curious to know the museum and came to the museum, unlocked this extra contents, and we were and they were back in analogic in the museum, and that was one of the main objectives of the game. So that's why we decided to make a second one. Also to relaunch the first, okay? Because when you're a second episode, like in the series or everywhere, if you want to play the second, you must play the first. So trying to
recreate interest for
public and recreating that interest. So we don't have these results yet. We will evaluate in a few months because normally after 1 year you have a good idea, a good view of the results. Now the life of the first video game was launched in 2017, so it's finished. So after 3 years, is normal life is over. Okay, the game is life is at the end, and so we relaunched this with a second game with new content, as I said, so new historical periods, new experience, as I said, and then this was the starting point for new projects. So the next one we are developing is a version, an extension of Minecraft, the famous video game with little blocks where you can build your world. There's an extension for people who have a copy of the original Minecraft. There's this middle Minecraft. Man is the name of my museum is National Archaeological Museum of Naples, MANN, okay, in the Italian version. And so Minecraft is a little extension we are developing, and I think it will be launched in a few months. And there are some images of the external part of the museum, a part of the internal, and of the gardens, historical gardens inside.
So actually you're investing in a new parallel universe. It's another verse. It's like the Minecraft world, another brick to the offer, actually. That's what you're doing right now.
Yes, using something really popular, something the younger guys like so much. And so this was another way to interact with young people who are our target. As an archaeological museum is always really difficult to approach. And so we're trying to take the ways to get in touch with what they like in the metaverse, in the digital, in the gaming. So this word is so fluid. I think everyone probably can give a personal interpretation on what is digital. For me, this is digital. For me, the virtual reality is a big headache. I love it, but it's a big headache. I'm not in a bit. So it really depends. But it's a great occasion to do something in the political, social field, in the social field, in the experience, in the accessibility of contents you can't live in present. So it's so important. And in general, for example, in our experience, museums always with the games, for example, or other application, virtual tour, everything is free because the accessibility, the economic accessibility is really important for us.
So the accessibility is linked also to the mission of the museum. Maybe in the case of Jérôme and maybe Emmanuel, it's more technical. On Jérôme projects, it's more technical because there's a VR headset. So you're also working on the technology and improving it. So maybe the next, you're on the prototype phase. So the next issue, I would say, of the project will be creating a more qualified environment. Maybe the quality of the images and the pixel is more important also to you than it is from here.
You talk about the technical stakes?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I spoke a little bit earlier about it, but for sure the goal is to retranscript emotions. The most interesting parameter that I can share with you today is that reproducing reality doesn't give reality. That's what we learned a lot in our 14 months of development. The first example that you can see here, if you can relaunch the video again.
Can you relaunch the video, please?
Why these images that we are showing today are so dark, and with the light of here you cannot see anything. There's a reason to that, which is interesting. If you want to reproduce or testify about reality with the same parameters of reality, it's a chess for sure. What we learned about the last 2 years of the beginning of the headsets, it has got some quality, but it's got also some defaults. The light needs to be less bright in the headset for several reasons that you can easily understand. So the gesture of lights, the gesture of the number of pixels and stuff like that, especially when you are in front of a cultural heritage or a public monuments, for example. When I was young, I used to love to hang around in the city and lost myself and discover monuments in the city. That's not this one. Yeah, it's called Dream City. .fr if you want to go online. So I was trying to we were trying to recreate this emotion, or when you are alone with the monument, you have a kind of conversation which is a little bit crazy and mental, but we talk with monuments, we talk with a building. When you are in front of the house of Boris Vian in Montmartre, comes some memories. So one of the challenges also was to bring back those memories, to create a kind of mental interaction with the audience, that she or he can access to the past, but also the present, the unmaterial patrimonial culture, if I may say. So that's why we insist to include the monument in the city, to make it live. So even if we are thinking about concepts of virtual exhibition these days, We want to, comment on dit quand on joue la comédie pour un comédien, on incarne.
Just reincarnate the stuff and make it embodied.
So this challenge is not as simple as you think. And as I said, when we realized that, for example, the lights were different in a headset than on a if you go on a Web3 on a DEC computer, it's totally different. So we spend a lot of time on lighting. Lighting is the key. It gives the life. We spend a lot of time about thinking how we could bring life in our cities, even if we don't do. Cities are huge. So if you decide to do a city in Italy, for example, I love Firenze, for example, I would love to do it. We're gonna only reproduce little jewels, emblematic areas, and this takes time. Because you need to take a path. There's 3,600 ways to reproduce a city. So you need to be able to deliver something that is organic enough to talk to our soul. And you need, at the end, if it's succeed, that the people don't feel the technology. That's what we want to do. Don't feel the technology. Don't think you are somewhere else. You are in something that humanity produced so far. That's what we try to reach.
So that's what you're trying to reach. The success will be if it's technologically really strong, but you cannot see it and you have the impression that you're right on it.
Yeah, hopefully, yes. Hopefully, yes. But we are close to it.
Emmanuel, I'm turning to you. What would be the success of the project? You said it's about empowering. Would you have a look on figures that we do generally in museums? Like we're trying to target as many people as possible, maybe changing the profile of the visitors, both online and on the spot. In your case, what are the main stakes or the main issues you're addressing? Maybe the business model might be also questions like how those things are going to be used and so on. We discussed with Maud because she's supporting the project. The French structure on investment is supporting that, and that might be one of the challenges that you have today.
Yeah, well, I think our main objective and challenges are to produce as much as possible of the reality as we get it today, but also get every data you can get from the past. So what we call a digital twins is not the usual definition of it. It's not just the 3D model. For us, it's the whole data you can get, the archive, the ancient plan from the building, so that any creator can recreate as easy as it can get any version of the monument. So you can travel in time, and I think this is very interesting because there is a European guideline which is asking for European states to create just, I think it's 16 million of monuments before 2030. So if we do it by the mean we have today, it would be like 400 or 500 billion euros to recreate everything with the technological means we have today. So one of our goals is to get it done as much as we can. I don't know if we are gonna do the 16 million monuments, but so this is the first thing. The second thing is that we want to ease as much as possible the work of the 3D artists. So you can do your cities as easy as possible using our component, our assets. So you can create every experience you want to create for your clients, visitors, etc. So this is really our main goals. What we think is that the reality and our heritage is not only the monuments, but also everything alive, every gest. So we want to, in a few months or years, to be able to recreate any know-how, like the smith when he forged a sword, so that in a game you can have really the sword being forged and not just the usual like
usual movements and
getting on and getting on. So we want to be a memory for the humanity and be able to offer that to everyone
at a large scale. Jérôme, you wanted to jump in on
I
that
hope we
point?
can interact. Yeah,
Of course you can.
No, it's not to be your contradictory, but we explore this concept of twin cities. And when we discover that Dassault System or this kind of company were already doing it, we realized that we were more working on a concept of mirror cities, which is for us more interesting. The concept of mirror is more rich. A mirror is first the way you can see yourself and understand about your culture and maybe modify it or enhance it or whatever you call it. So I like the concept of twin cities, but I think we, on our concept, we are more on a mirror to show the best we can and to be able to deliver something which is more, again, human and not a copy clone, if I would say. Just sorry.
The objective is that you can adapt, modify, and just have the base. So you don't have to start from scratch.
Reality by itself, I think it's could be boring in some aspects.
It can be, but there might be not only reality in this duplication, but also creation of new universe. If you had maybe just some metrics on achievements that you've come through now, what you said the results were, the questions you're asking yourself at this point of development on the African Museum.
So I think with the African Museum Metaverse, our kind of goal was how can we give back to the artists, you know? So, you know, like just throughout history, tons of artists haven't been fairly compensated for the work they've been doing, you know? And so, you know, I think through the metaverse, the blockchain technology, specifically NFTs, non-fungible tokens, what I said earlier, has the capabilities of doing that. Just from in a way of, when I think artists are incentivized to create NFTs because of the fact that you can mint a specific amount of digital art, meaning that, hey, I can have a fixed amount of digital art. And from that standpoint, you know, just from a supply and demand level, is as in, since I have a scarce amount of art, I can distribute it and I can make the profits. Second off, how artists can be fairly compensated and solves the dilemma from a standpoint as in, like, if I was an artist and I sold you a piece of art, I would make that money, but then you could sell that art 10 years down the road, and then that person would make that money, and in no way I'm compensated for that. And that's not really fair, just because I created it. It's my art. So, but I think, so what's great about the metaverse and through smart contracts, that really solves that issue. So from that standpoint, now if I sell my art, and then after that person sells their art, I'll still get rewarded and still get compensated in one way or another from that. So I think that right there is a game changer. And kind of going back to is just really just giving power to the artist, just from a standpoint of like you deserve all the credit. And I think most importantly, what makes the NFT so great is the fact, like what I said earlier, is just the fact that you know, like just from a verifiability, like you know when it's how it's verified, you know. If you go into the African Museum Metaverse and you click on these pieces of art, each one, it will tell you who was created, who the artist was, when it was created, when it was minted, you know? Yeah. So from that standpoint, just kind of going back to preserving the history and the authentication from a standpoint that, you know, like throughout years, African art has been stolen just throughout the year through past history. So from that standpoint, it kind of just prevents that from a standpoint, you know? So I think that in a way that we're doing something really special, and we think we understand this process. And I think that's the significance behind this.
So this time you cannot stole the art because it's in the metaverse.
It's in the metaverse.
Actually, it's like a safer place, as you mentioned. It's not like a parallel universe, but a safer place to create for creators, actually, for artists too.
Exactly. And what's great about this art too, so when you own the art, you know, just kind of like my example, I'm going to give the Mona Lisa, you know, the Mona Lisa can be in more than one place, you know. It can't be in New York City, it can't be in the Meta Gala, you know. It'd be nice for me, but it can't. So, but what's nice about the metaverse is that there's different universes. And when you have a piece of art, it can be in multiple metaverses at once. And that's what's kind of what's terrific and kind of solves the dilemma. And lots of art you have in museums can't be displayed. And and you don't have that issue here. You can display all the type of art, and you don't have to. So just from that standpoint, I think it really solves that issue.
Maybe we should just come back on that, because maybe not everybody is familiar with that. But on the metaverse, you have different places like Decentraland and things like that.
Yeah.
The African metaverse has different locations actually in the metaverse.
Yeah. So we have voxelland. We've been developing on Blender. So we've been developing in just different universes. So right now, like that's just kind of where we're headed to. So just from an art standpoint, we're focusing on one place at a time, because right now, like once we build up our model and then get the ideas, then we're able to able to clean it up in different metaverses. So, but it's great the fact that you don't have to like, oh, we can't move this artwork from one place to another, or we have to kind of rebuy it. So it's great that you can mint it in
and duplicate
different universes. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so that's really like also a new world with new rules and new way of playing. Okay, for the last 20 minutes, because I want to leave sometimes for the questions for the audience. I'm a consultant, so my job is like to think forward and ahead. And I was like, okay, where is that place going to be in 20, 30 years? I have some ideas, but I just turn back to the experts maybe. So I just read some stuff. Bill Gates was saying, yeah, it's getting closer, it's going to be good, and so on. And I read something from Pekka Lundmark, who is the CEO for Nokia. And he's saying that 6G and metaverse could change smartphone into a thing of the past for him. And he said that augmented reality goggles will become a more frequent interface in 2030 than today. And it goes even faster and in a way that is quite weird or crazy, that's saying we will have implants in the body, including those stuff and so on. So maybe not going into that tech vision, but where do you see your projects, and more generally speaking, the metaverse in all its aspects? We don't try to give a definition today, but this different usage, where do you see it going in maybe 20, 30 years? Maybe, Jérôme, you want to jump on that one for a start?
I'm not the messiah on those questions. It's complicated, but if you give me the microphone, I'm okay. I hope you will give a version, huh? Okay. But what was the question? No, how do you see us in 20 years? I think we should stay not too much expecting. The metaverse won't save the planet, and even the world itself, as I said at the beginning, won't save anybody. So I think we're going to have access to new kind of experiences. We were working, by curiosity, with a company called Carbometrics, who calculated if we go with a couple to Barcelona with any transportation, and we spend 2 days here, how much is our carbon print compared to, let's say, 2 times 1 hour in the street of Barcelona? And it's more or less 1 per 5, 1 per 10. So it won't save the planet, but it could be interesting to start to think about des expériences de substitution experiences that could allow us not to talk to each other, because we love to talk to each other, but to be in communication or have access to specific contents. That's the thing I would say. It's going to be in 10 years like going to cinema, and I hope so. And I don't think we're going to have the Neuralink Elon Musk implanted. I don't want it for me, thank you. But no, you have the fantasy and you have the reality. I think we're going to have some other stakes to face, which are going to be related to climate change and stuff like that. So the unmaterialized experience, the virtual experience will maybe help us to diversify our cultural experience without printing too much the planet, hopefully. But that's the only advantage I see for now. And the last thing is that for sure, all of you have been trying these heavy headsets. We are unbelievable. The battery is behind and stuff like that. If you see what, I don't want to give brands, but HTC, for example, just came out with a new headset. It looks more or less ski glasses, and we're moving forward. And I hope it will finish into this. that I talked to, but on a minute I got an experience in any. So that's what I hope humbly, because I think we need to stay humble about all of this.
Okay, staying humble. Elisa, what would be your view on that from a museum point of view and your personal one?
Yes, in general, I think it's a great education for museums to be everywhere at every time. In general, as a personal view, I don't know. Talking today, I was thinking, so in order to create the metaverse, the digital experiences, and so on, we use machines, instruments, techniques, something very natural, something unhuman. Okay, but the result, so this digital world, this metaverse, is something not natural. So it's something created using your personal sensibility. So your point of view is visible in what you produce. As we were saying, it could be interesting for the people you are targeting or not, because that sensibility is different than mine. For example, I can like a video game, an emotional video game, or I can hate it because I love the action game. I want a serious game to learn something. So you meet a sensibility. You have many choices. Not good for all, like everything. But in general, this metaverse, with this so hard use of techniques and instruments, is not neutral. It's not. It's personal, and something, I think, in the creative part you put in your personal point of view, personal of the stuff.
So it's a biased vote.
Yes. Yeah. So I hope. So I think probably the future will change as our sensibility will change in general. So this is probably an ingenious way to approach this thing, but I can't have this. I don't know. I really don't know. I was thinking, just to say something personal. For example, my 8 years baby. Okay, she talks to Google. The artificial intelligence of Google, asking something impossible. So like, Google, please find me that song I heard 3 days ago. The singer was with black hair and not so tall. Okay. So, and for her, Google is so intelligent to find what she's talking about, she's thinking about, as like just the mother can know, because she was there and she knows who's the singer with the black hair 3 years ago, hair, and so on. So I think probably Google in a few years will be able to answer my child's request, and I'm a little bit horrified by this.
Just keep a view on how is it working, and it really depends also on how we accept the biases and how we bring it also to life.
Yeah,
keeping the human touch into all that.
Yes, and I hope in general that the new generations will be able to understand this changing. For example, my son is one. It's a digital native, so called, but she doesn't know anything about what it's back. That's
how it works.
Ask. So that's why for her that intelligent as a person, and it's not sure. Okay, I hope they have the so the instruments to separate the reality and the experience, or anyway the instruments. So that must be a way to not the only reality and the only way. I'm a little bit afraid of this.
Yeah, to be able to make the difference between what's created and what's reality and how it works. Yeah, okay. Emmanuel, turning to you, maybe on a larger scale, because Matrice is working on those changes, and as you mentioned, there's also a social aspect to that. So how do you see the metaverse on the cultural field changing in maybe 10, 20 years from now?
Yeah, I think I'm even gonna go on a philosophical verse.
Okay, go ahead.
At Matrice, we are avid reader of Bernard Stiegler, which is a French philosopher. He talks about les technologies de savoir, knowledge technologies. So what he means behind that is that technologies can get you through knowledge, or it can obfuscate anything you can know about. I'm going to take a simple example. For instance, if you take Amazon Prime delivery services, the simple fact you can order anything and think it can be delivered in 1 hour without any regard to who is going to deliver it, in which condition is going to do it, how the truck is going to be empty to bring it in 1 hour. Well, every movement of the digital era we're living in is to make all of this disappear. So I think our main objective for the years to come is to be able to retrace the link between reality and what the digital world has to show you. For instance, if you take the YouTube recommendation algorithm, you don't know why it's gonna recommend you something. It would be interesting to think about a way you can say, "Hey, YouTube, I want to be surprised and discover something you wouldn't recommend me," because if we stay in this way, it's there is an ancient Greek word which is pharmakon. It means both the poison and the cure. I really think the digital technologies are the most pharmakon thing we have today, and the metaverse is the same. It can be a way to show you all the knowledge we have on the world, all the data we have in servers, and you can get it throughout your life, throughout the experience you will have every day. Or it can give you the worst, which is showing you a world that doesn't have any reality, any materiality, and leave you imprisoned in it. So I think it's our responsibility, as much as the political authorities, but also us as citizens, producer of technologies and of content, to make the right choice. And I'm going to be a little bit pessimistic, but I think we're going to go way too far on the bad side before we're going to
we come back to
go a little bit back. So historically, we always did that as humanity. So I think there is no way it's going to change. But in the end, all is going to be fine. But the fact you mentioned on the climate change could be a big stop of everything. So it could be. We'll see in a few years or decades. But it might be like not going very far before we have more obvious problems. Yeah.
It might stop before. So there's a risk, but there's also a chance. Like, it's actually the word in English, it's a chance, whatever we do from it. If Jeudi, would you try something more optimistic on the view, what's coming next? And how do you see it coming from the African Museum point of view, but more generally in the metaverse and maybe the people building it today and the programs that you're following too?
So I think what's really important is the fact that we control the narrative, you know? So right now we're in the early stages, and my team and I, we see ourselves as trailblazers, you know? And the metaverse is just very abstract, you know? You can make, it's like really what you want to make out of it. So like, for an example, like for instance, like we've been really working with metaverse architects. So last year we partnered with Thurgood Marshall College Funds, which is a historically Black school in the United States, and they awarded they chose their 15 brightest students in the meta that are kind of familiar with the metaverse, and they awarded them scholarships. So we teamed up with them. We taught them how to be proficient in Web 3.0, and they really had after we worked with them for weeks on ends, they really kind of developed an affinity for Web 3.0. So after the internship was over, we had a couple students reach out to us and they said, "Hey, we kind of want to do more of this." So then we partnered. We linked them to NFT, which is an associated affiliate with us, and so we last summer we worked with them even more, and they became so proficient that we even considered them metaverse architects. So they became proficient in Blender and Magic Land, which is just huge. And afterwards, NFT was just so impressed by them that they even hired two of them to be a part of the team. So
So you created young professionals in the Web3.
Young professionals that wouldn't have been able to do this. And the purpose of this college fund was to really just help with the racial gap, because obviously this is new technology and not everyone has this, no one has the capabilities, or just kind of like right now, all the people here sitting here right now, you're ahead of you're ahead of everybody right now, So, and so that was kind of our mission. That was the university's mission. So just to see what we were able to do, and at the day, like I said, you can control your own narrative. And like I said, we really see ourselves as trailblazers. But going back, throughout history, human beings have been able to abuse technology, but in order to stop people from abusing it, it's just really just regulations, just from a standpoint. But we'll see how it comes, and hopefully everyone can catch up onto this. So, but I think something's brewing really. I think something's brewing in the metaverse, and I challenge all of you to take a part of this.
I think that's a good conclusion, actually. Just let's be part of it, and that's our responsibility to make it a positive place in the future. Thank you all for that discussion. We have 15 minutes of questions from the audience. So just if you have one question, just raise your hand. I'm just going to go and bring the mic to you so everybody can hear the questions. Any questions in the room?
Hello, it's a question for the African Museum in the metaverse. How do you select the artists? I mean, because it's a vague definition, African.
So yeah, it's a vague definition, but so how we select the artists. So like we've been building because at the day we control the narrative because no one's doing this right now. So we've been so African artists have been developing art in the metaverse. So it's almost like we were seen as a mecca, for instance. So people reached out to us saying, "Hey, how can I be a part of your exhibit?" So from that standpoint, we've been gaining a big following, and then from there, we have to differentiate which art we want in, which one we out, because it is a vague system right now. So because the fact that how we went about doing this, you're like, yeah, let's create an ecosystem. Let's create an ecosystem where people can communicate. Because when you go into the African metaverse, you can create an avatar. So then through the avatar, you can talk, discuss what are your thoughts on it. So right now we have 3 or 4 different floors of African artwork. So from a standpoint, it's almost like for us, like I guess we're like kind of the curators while we can decipher which art we want, which art we don't. And obviously once it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, we have to be a little more selective. But from a just standpoint, it's a weird way because, like we're deciding what's authentic in Black and African art,
You didn't reject that much of the propositions. I mean, you say people are reaching out to you.
Yeah.
But you don't say, do you say no frequently to the proposition of the artist?
So we'll collaborate, and from a standpoint, like for the big time pieces, we'll have them front in our entrance, and as the metaverse gets bigger, and as we build on top of the real estate, we'll build
More space.
More space. Yeah, but the most important pieces are up front. So when you go into the metaverse, you'll be able to click on these pieces of art and see how much these pieces cost.
Okay. Any other question? No? No more questions? That's it? Okay, great. Thanks for you to come to Paris and share your vision on that. Thanks to the audience for listening, and enjoy the end of SITEM. Bye.